Hey everyone, today we are talking about this awesome lens right here, the Viltrox 85mm f1.4 Pro for the Nikon Z mount. And this is a pretty important lens for Viltrox because it's like their first full frame Pro series lens. Before this, the only higher end stuff that we've seen from them were the lab series lenses, like the 135mm f1.8 and the 35mm f1.2. And those are, again, the upper echelons of lenses in the Viltrox lines. This Pro line is like a step below that, but it still performs really good. And I've been using this lens for some time now on Nikon bodies, and I want to share with you guys my real thoughts on it. Let's start with the build quality, because that's the first thing that stood out to me when I took it out of the box. This lens has a premium look. It looks premium, full metal construction. It's solid in the hand, and yeah, it's pretty heavy. It's around 800 grams, so it's not a lightweight lens by any means, but with that weight, you get all the things that you expect from a Pro lens, and you get an aperture ring, the AM/FF toggle switch, a customizable function button, on and off click switch for the aperture ring. You also get the Pro badge on the side of it, which is a really nice touch. I really like this badge right here. And around the back of the lens, there is a red rubber gasket seal. So Viltrox is saying that this is weather sealed. You also get the USB-C port on the mount for firmware updates, which at this point is pretty much expected from Viltrox. Minimum focusing distance is 79 centimeters. Now that's pretty standard for an 85mm focal length, although I do wish it could be I wish it could focus just a bit closer, but nonetheless it's still good. It's still in along the lines with most lenses in this class. Overall, the build quality is excellent, and the one thing about Viltrox lately is they're dropping lenses constantly. It feels like every time you blink, there's another lens release, and somehow they're still maintaining quality. Now let's talk about autofocus, because this is always a big question with third-party lenses. On my Nikon Z8 body, the autofocus performance has been solid. Eye detection works very well for portraits, and tracking is reliable in most situations. Where it can struggle a bit is with fast or erratic movements, quick turns, spins, sudden direction changes. In those cases, you might see a bit of hesitation or like a momentary softness. I also noticed the occasional micropulses before the lens lock focus. It's very quick, like a millisecond delay, but it's there. But that being said, for portrait work, which is what this lens is really made for, I've been more than happy with the autofocusing performance. Now let's talk about the image quality. Now this is where this lens really shines. Again, this is an 85mm full frame f1.4, and shooting wide open is so much fun. The background separation, the compression, the subject isolation, it all looks great. At f1.4, this lens is seriously sharp. And at this point, it's no longer surprising what Viltrox is capable of optically. Now, I was using this lens at nighttime. I went out to shoot some low light portraits with this lens, and the f1.4 aperture did help in this scenario, because that wide aperture did allow in more light gathering. Now going through my photos, I keep zooming in to 100, 200% and double checking the metadata, because some of these shots just don't look like they were taken wide open, but they were, and that's how sharp this lens is. The bokeh is very nice and smooth. It's very pleasing, and it really helps the subject pop as well. I find this especially useful shooting portraits in busy environment. You can use this lens and set it to f1.4, and then just have the background blur out any distractions. Now, when you move in a little bit closer, you really do get a nice fall off. I took some portraits against a white backdrop here, and it created more of an intimate look, and I really like that. Now, stopping this lens down has just increased the sharpness further. I shot anywhere from f2.8 to f11, and this lens holds up very well across the range. Now, chromatic aberration is well controlled. You can find some fringing in high contrast situations. You see this also in near minimum close focusing distance as well, but you really have to look for it. Nothing I consider a real issue in normal use. Flaring is something you have to be aware of. If you shoot directly into the sun, the image can wash out a bit and you get like a sort of soft glow. with some red ring flare on it. It all depends on the shot, and that can either work with you or work against you. So just be mindful of your angles. So let's talk about price, because this is where things get really interesting. This lens comes in around $600, which is very, very competitive for a full frame 85mm f1.4 Pro lens. Now, if you look at the alternatives, native 85mm lenses are significantly more expensive. And for Nikon, the native lens that they have is an 85mm f1.8 S lens. And that lens is coming around 800 bucks, but it's only at f1.8. They also have an 85mm f1.2, and that lens is huge. That lens is chunky, and that lens is it also costs around close to $3,000, $2,800. For the price of the Viltrox, you get an f1.4 lens, albeit it's not f1.2, although it's also not f1.8, somewhere in the middle. Oh, and this lens costs 600 bucks. The Nikon 85mm f1.8 S lens comes in around 800 bucks, but again, it only gives you f1.8. So if you are, wanting something a little bit faster for low light photography, Viltrox meets somewhere in the middle. And then there's also other third-party lenses like the Sirui 85mm f1.4 Aurora, which is a solid lens. You're still giving up some pro level features. It takes great images, but again, I feel as though it's not as sharp as the Viltrox lens. At $600, you're getting a fast f1.4 aperture, pro level build, weather sealing, aperture ring, physical controls, and strong image quality. Now that's hard to argue with. Now, Viltrox has been on a serious roll lately. The Lab series has been impressive. The Pro series keeps getting better, and they're still expanding their lineup. And honestly, I've been reaching for third-party glass more than native lenses lately. The Viltrox lens especially, they feel modern, it's very well built, and it's priced reasonably. Now, if I had one request for Viltrox moving forward, and it's just to make a Pro series zoom lens, like a 24 to 70 mm f2.8, or even an APS-C series lens, like a 16 to 55. That would be a killer. But coming back to this lens right here, the 85mm f1.4 Pro for the Viltrox, this is a strong performer. It has great image quality, excellent sharpness, beautiful background blur, and it's coming in at a strong value. If you're shooting portraits and you're on the Nikon Z cameras, this lens deserves some serious consideration. If you're interested, links are down in the description below. Using them supports the channel and it helps me keep making content like this. And special thanks to Viltrox for sending this lens out so that I can make this video possible for you guys. If you want more photography gear content, consider subscribing, and let me know, what are your thoughts on this lens? Would you pick this over the native glass? Do let me know in the comment section below, and thanks so much.